Hi, guys. Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Meth. Another day, another fantastic interview. I love it because I've got Eric Rogers with me. Eric Rogers is an amazing man who is such an example of a transformation that I was dead keen to actually have him on my show. And it is, all of my guests have been in the darkness. Some of us more than others, some of us maybe not so much. The vast majority of people I talked to, it was pitch black, and Eric is no different there. So welcome, brother, on my show, because it's time that we share where you have been and how you got yourself out of the shit. What were the steps that led to you being the new you and coming to a point where you say, yeah, I love my life. And I come onto a show and I'm actually truly honest about my life, transparent, show integrity. Now that takes balls. And I know you're not just a six-pack. You are a man who has transformed into something remarkable. And I'm honored to have you on the show. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me, brother. This is awesome.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, nowadays you're there looking at you, for crying out loud. I mean, you buy extra small shirts just to look good, don't you? You bugger.
That's just a large, bro.
No, I'm kidding. It is. You see that the discipline that you put in your life has reaped rewards, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we take that for granted. You listen to some influencers out there, some people who are really into discipline, and you see them running along, and giving you a pep talk once they're running at 150 miles an hour and have just gone through a desert. And you think, oh, fuck off. Okay, honestly, this is just, come on. But you are actually living it. You're living it more quietly. And yet you're giving the pep talk out of a chair, not running with a naked chest dripping in sweat. So I do appreciate that, although it would have probably increased my viewer rating quite a bit. So maybe we should redo that in the gym.
Yeah.
Okay?
Next time.
Exactly, next time. When you were a young boy, who did you want to be? What do you want to become when you were a little boy?
Man, I had quite an imagination as a kid. It was a lot of things changed in my life at 7 years old. And my traumatic experience started at a very young age. I still had quite a bit of an imagination after that. But mostly it was a violent imagination. Mostly it was, how am I going to get out of here type of imagination. I always wanted to go live in the wild and just separate myself from the world and isolate myself. That's something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be like a badass motherfucker. Dude, that was something I really wanted to be. I just didn't know how to get there. So, I mean, talking about my childhood, 7 years old, the instance that actually started all of this, darkness in my life was, I was sexually molested by my Sunday school teacher at 7 years old. And, I didn't say a word, and I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody up until this year, actually. But the week after, I knew I had to go back, right? It's a place I have to go every Sunday. And I decided to deal with it on my own. I was, extreme emotions were going in my head. I was 7. I was angry. And I decided to deal with her myself. I poured a cap full of bleach in her coffee at Sunday school. Yeah. Instant karma, right? And she got extremely sick. And a lot of this memory is very repressed because I did push it down so deep for so long. But there are key points that I remember. And how I remember is the behavioral issues I had growing up are all connected to this moment. So one being I was violent, lots of violent thoughts, violent actions, because I thought it was okay. Because at 7 years old, I had took an action on something that I hated, on somebody I hated. And that was the last time she touched me. So it triggered in my head that it was okay. The other thing is I became an extremely good liar, because at that moment at 7 years old, I had these thoughts like, oh, I can't tell anyone now. Like, I'm going to get in trouble for pouring bleach in her coffee. Right. And so from that moment on, I became an extremely good liar. And obviously the trauma that I endured, just pushing that memory down and down and down, caused a lot. And then I grew up in a household, good family, right? Dad was a Folsom prison guard, there, because of what I was going through, and they had no idea, I was segregated within the family. Because I was different. I had temper tantrums, uncontrollable anger issues, and just psychological issues. And they just didn't know what was going on. And so they kind of just put me in a corner. Right. And I had been, learned how to isolate myself very well and not let the world in. I hated authority because of what happened to me. So I had a lot of problems listening to my parents, listening to my father. I was very disrespectful, very negative. And, there's consequences for that, right? They didn't know what was going on. So I endured a lot of emotional abuse as a child within my family itself. I endured a lot of, not as much, but some physical abuse as well, as a young kid. And man, I was angry. I just got worse and worse. Now, at the age of 8, I had found a pill bottle of my mom's. My mom had a lot of kidney stones back in the day, and I found her pain pills. I took one at 8 years old. I didn't really know what it was, but I took it. It made me feel amazing. And the pain left. It was gone. And I just knew that was what I needed to do. I needed to find some way to relieve it. However I could. Anger, drugs, violence, whatever, you name it. I had a lot of vices, a lot of escapism, traits. And man, I was drinking whole bottles of Robitussin, taking Dramamine. I was I was taking 4 doses of Benadryl, whatever I could do just to get these thoughts and this anger out of my head. Another cool thing is that I learned that pull-ups at a young age, pull-ups really helped me, and I'm glad I found that, because that's what I use today. Right. That's what I use today to cope and keep me on the right track. But fast forward through to high school, at 16 years old, I started delving into cocaine and marijuana. And I got extremely addicted to cocaine because the type of personality I am, I know we talked about this earlier, is I am the all in type of guy. I'm all in or I'm all out. There's no in between. There's no gray area. I'm actually diagnosed bipolar 2, and that might be a part of it. I actually have a YouTube channel called The Polarizing Effect because that's just, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. And that's part of the mentality that I teach as well, going the right direction. But I took cocaine to the next level. I started selling it. I started getting a lot of people hooked on it. And then, at the age of 17, my dad found a little bit on my possession. He called me and he's like, "Hey, you're done. Like you're out, you're kicked out. Don't come home." Right. And so at 17, I found myself homeless. I had a job, a pizza delivery boy, and a car, and that's it. And the first night I was out, I went over to a friend's house, so-called, and I was telling him, like, "Dude, I'm going to quit. Like, I'm going to change my life. Like, I just got kicked out. I have to get my shit together." And the next morning we wake up and he pulls out a little bag with white powder. And he's like, "Yeah, you want some?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, of course." Right. Cause I was an addict, and I took a little like bump, and, it burnt really bad. And on my way to dropping him off at work, he's like, "So how long you been doing methamphetamine?" Right. "How long you been doing meth?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, you just did it." And caught me by surprise completely. I was pissed. I pushed him out of the car. I'm like, "You're done." Like, I was extremely mad at him. And then I ended up going to his house later that night and smoking it. And I got extremely hooked to methamphetamine. Right. I was an extreme user, started getting myself in situations where I was hanging around some evil people, extremely evil people, put in situations I would have never been in. You know, I've had 8 overdoses, 3 grand mal seizures. I've drug-induced psychosis, like the signs of schizophrenia. And I've had uh, 3 times where I had a knife to my throat, and once where I had a gun to my head, held hostage by tweakers, you know, the same people that I was calling my friends. But I needed people in my life. They wanted me in their life. But when they got too high, you know, bad things happen, you know. And so I was in this environment where I was just surrounded by evil, surrounded by massive drug addiction. And I was actually taking like so much methamphetamines. I didn't eat or sleep for 3 weeks at a time. And, you know, I was seeing demons. I was hallucinating. I was the guy on the side of the road yelling at cars, biting my shoulder, like biting my tongue. You see the scars on my face. I have massive, I was just picking at my face all the time. Came to a point where I got pulled over, 3 minors in my car. And I was 18. I just turned 18 and I had 3 minors in the car, and we're doing lines on the side of the road. 3 cops pull up behind me, the lights on. And that was it, man. That was it. They found an 8 ball of methamphetamine, 8 ball of cocaine, meth pipe, an ounce of weed, and 3 grams of hash, and 3 minors. Yeah. So I went to jail that night for 2 weeks. I spent 2 weeks detoxing in Sac County Jail in Sacramento, California. And it was the first time in a long time I was sober.
Wow.
Right. So 18, finally sober. I was seeing that it was possible. That was the coolest part about that. It was my first glimpse at it. Like I could quit and it would be okay. Right. When I got out, I didn't get clean fully. I got off the hard stuff. I ended up moving up to Truckee, California in the woods. I was homeless again for another 4 months up there, trying to I did what I said I was going to do. I isolated myself in the woods. 4 months. I had a box of canned foods and my guitar and a tarp. And I lived 4 months, survived in the woods, and I killed squirrels with my guitar strings. I snared them. I cooked them. I put them in my chili. I ate them. I survived. And I spent that time getting clean and self-reflecting, which are some of the tools that I still use to this day. Right. And then I met my wife and we got married.
Did you snare her, or was it a more conventional?
It was more conventional.
All right.
She snared me. Yeah. Yeah, man. She's amazing. First time I ever felt loved in my life, you know, ever felt love. And so it connected. But then I was dabbling in alcohol, I was dabbling in weed, I was dabbling in pills. I started having addiction to benzos, to Adderall, just the next thing. Right. And I took that to the next level. So we fast forward my son, we had our son, married, I believe 4 or 5 years at that point. And my son is 1 year old. My wife quit when she got pregnant. She was sober, doing really well. Just an amazing woman, just changed her life. Right. She had to quit because of the pregnancy. And then it just came to the point where I was causing so much harm to that family, to my family. I was just being such a piece of shit, such a victim, no responsibility, wasn't there for them. I wasn't who I was supposed to be. Right. And
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it came to a point where I was not fit to be a father. I was not fit to be a husband. And so they left. Right. And there I was alone again. And this moment, I was just like, I was done. It was it, bro. I spent about 4 months getting back into the hard stuff, drinking about almost a whole handle of whiskey a night. And to the point, like 4 months later, I put a gun in my mouth and I said, this is it. Like my life is fucked. I've ruined everything. And it was, I made a decision and I put that gun in my mouth and I was just panicking, extreme panic, tears rolling down my face, slobbering, screaming. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't leave a note. It was not a cry for help this time. You know what I mean? Like it was in the past. And squeezing that trigger, and something just, I had this vision of my son calling somebody else dad, and a man loving my wife more than I ever could. And it killed me, bro. I didn't need to pull that trigger, right? It killed me. And it was the first moment in my life where, out of selfishness, I said I could be that person. Like I just didn't want my wife to be loved by someone else. I didn't want my son to have a different dad, like at least. Like, so I pulled that gun out of my mouth, and it was the first time in my life I took responsibility. And it was that moment. I was fucking wasted, bro, and just a mess. And I was like, you know what? My actions from my past got me here. It was the first time I ever saw that. In the past, it was always your fault. It was always their fault, right? It was never my fault. It started when that lady touched me. And it started when my parents, my father and brother emotionally abused me. It's their fault, right? And then it wasn't their fault. How I reacted to those things was my fault. When I became a certain age, I had control, but I chose to be a victim instead. And this is a hard journey, and you may never see that until you hit rock bottom. That's the truth. I couldn't see it. I had no idea. I had no way of seeing that I was in control at all, or that this was my fault at all, until it was too late. I had to get to the point where I was at the bottom of that hole, and I had two choices. I can get out of that hole, or I can just end it, fill it up with dirt. And that's what I needed, And don't mind me. Like I had eight overdoses in the past. So I had guns, I had knives to my throat. I was in situations, I've seen people die. Like, not talking about drug addiction, drug overdoses either. I've been there, I've seen it. And those weren't enough, But when I lost, the only time I felt love from my wife and son, and I lost that, that's what I needed. And that was the moment I decided, like, I can change the outcome of my future. It's powerful. And I failed a little bit, but dude, I committed the next day. I quit drinking. I quit doing drugs. I haven't looked back since. And obviously, like, I know we talked about this earlier, but I studied human beings. I talked to people. I was like, how do you live? Like, how do you react to things? Like, asking guys, like, how do you not lust over girls? Right. Like, how do you react to somebody talking crap to you? Like, cause I'm always like, fight. It's always fight or flight, always running from pain or just causing pain. And I realized very quickly that I didn't want to be normal. I like getting myself in a community of guys and talking to them. I was like, this is fucking weird, bro. Like, you guys are weird, like all lovey-dovey. I'm intense. And so, like, it gave me the EBGBs, like being around normal people. Like, I went to church and everyone was so nice. I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you guys? It was just weird for me. And I realized very quickly that I would probably never be able to stop being intense. Right. I have a massive drive. That's my superpower. Extreme drive, focus. And so I just got to point that compass needle the right direction and keep it there. And I'll get what I want every time. And I won't stop till I get it. Right. I got my wife back, my kid back. They're here right now. Over time, I eventually started my business, and I took all the tools I learned from the point of pulling that gun out of my mouth to now. And I built a program, and I use those tools to help people just get to know themselves and understand themselves, be aware of their struggles, their emotions, and how to break through those limitations they've set for themselves through trauma or just life, right? Because everyone has a commitment problem. Everyone has a problem quitting. Everybody has a problem, self-reflecting. And so I teach them those tools. I didn't get help. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go, I didn't get help. I went to church. I really got to know God, but I did it all on my own. I'm a fucking miracle, bro. Seriously.
You are. And my God, you said so many things. At one stage, you saw me laughing at probably in quite inappropriate moments when you're really at your lowest. The reason I was laughing is because your words came out of your mouth, yet I could have spoken them. They could have been virtually, transcribed from my soul. And that's why I was thinking, what the fuck? This is exactly the same shit I've gone through, the same emotions, the same down and all, the same actually ready to throw it in. I didn't have, I had overdoses, alcoholic overdoses, because ultimately there were times when I was literally in a coma, not in a hospital coma, but, completely passed out. Not as life-threatening as yours, I give you that. And ultimately, but it's the same sense of trauma, being there for the victim, being there for, look what they have done to me. And look, because of that, I'm going to drink now a whole bottle of Jim Beam. That will show them. And it's that kind of thing. What the fuck? But that's exactly how I was for years and years and years and years. Anger and resentment, my key responses to absolutely everything. It was shoot first, then ask questions. There was no love to myself. There was probably not too much love to those people around me that mattered. So was I a dick? Shit, yeah. And from a very early age onwards, I was a selfish prick. And it is, it takes a lot of hard work that you were willing to put in, that you were at a crucial moment. You had an epiphany, you had an insight, and that led to your transformation. There was some catalyst there. And whatever that was, whoever gave you that thought, if there is a being out there, let it be God. I can live with that. If you believe in that, let it be
absolutely
an energy being of sorts. Something bigger than us is out there. And I think that is what we need to accept. There are things out there that we cannot explain, but something rescued you there. And that something is worthwhile chasing, because if you can be guided by something towards a different coping mechanism, a different belief system, a different way forward, a different mission, a different vision, a different dream even. You don't need to be as clear yet, but if you can imagine just for the time being that there is a better life out there, just imagine it, even if you believe that it will never come true. If you just have that little glimmer of, hey, this would be nice if, but right, that's a start. That's a start. That's the candle, the candle in the darkness that hopefully people like Eric and me can turn into a torch and actually be the lighthouse, literally out there in the darkness, in the storm for you guys, because we have been in the shits. We have been in the darkness, darker moments than maybe you could imagine. Yes, thank you very much. I've been there, and I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
But you need to be there to appreciate now the light. And that's why I spent a Saturday morning here recording with Eric and having an honest man-to-man talk. What we do is connection. We talk about our shit. We actually open up and we are honest about it, what has happened to us. And that's something that when you're in your addiction, you will never do, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you said you became the best liar ever. I call it hiding.
That was bad.
Yeah.
My dad was a cop, and I was punished for telling the truth. So that was another reason why You know how your parents are like, did you do this? And you're like, no, I didn't, but you're lying. Well, if I told the truth, I get disciplined for it. Right. Don't ever do that to your kids. Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to tell anyone how to parent, but man, that right there, because I applied this to my son. If he does something bad and he lies and I get the truth out of him, I give him a hug straight up. Changes everything. Changes everything. Yeah. If he continues to lie and I know about it, that's a different story, right? So I mean, that the lying was caused huge turmoil in my life. I was in survival mode. Absolutely. I lied to survive. Yeah. And I hid from my pain to survive. This is something that I can absolutely admit to is drugs saved my life. I want to be here without them. I know that's fucking crazy, but
no. That is absolutely right. Thank you for saying that, because ultimately we use drugs or behaviors to escape reality. So those drugs are actually a survival mechanism there and then. There is a reason that you use. There's a reason that you drink. There's a reason that you sleep with everything that has a heartbeat, because it gives you something. It fulfills a need that is so deep down in the recesses of the darkest recesses of your brain. You have no idea what's going on. But these are the core beliefs. These are the core things that are happening that then drive our emotions. In your and my case, the anger and resentment, which then drives our actions. In your case, well, acting out and going nuts in so many ways. And same with me. I was, my core beliefs were fucked up until I went into rehab, because I had no idea that there is a concept of core beliefs. I had no idea of all these kind of things. So therefore,
it's not taught,
isn't it? Yeah, I was essentially blind. I was emotionally blind, and I had no clue what was going on. I was a victim of my own neurochemistry in my brain. Yeah. I mean, it's just waves were hitting me from all sides, emotions from all sides. I had no clue, and I only responded to it.
Yeah. And you react to it. That's the problem.
Exactly.
That's the fucking problem, right? You react to it by hiding, or you react to it by expressing. Yeah. And here's a fact, and this helped me so much along my journey of control and discipline. Is discipline emotionally is like where you've truly mastered yourself, in my opinion, right? Emotions and thoughts they're okay to have. Everybody has them. Those will never go away. Don't even try to think. Don't try to think they ever will go away. But if you can be aware of them and realize that emotions aren't reality, they're real, but they're not reality until you react to them. Correct. And when you react to them, now there's consequences. Correct. That emotion has come out of your mouth or through your actions. And now there's going to be something coming back to you. And it's never good if it's a negative emotion. Right. And so to be able to be aware of, like, is this negative? Is this positive? And give yourself some time between the reaction and the emotion and control it. Yeah. Very hard to do, but I believe that the key to doing that is by controlling everything else that you can't, the small things, what you ingest, what you do with your body, what you put in your mind, right? Which I use fitness and nutrition for those aspects with my clients. And it's crazy. It's amazing.
And it's so true. And there are, just as much as you have used fitness and a focus on your body to deal with the emotions, which, by the way, is a superb way of dealing with it. There is equally, you cannot just build these muscles here, but you can actually build the emotional muscles. It's just as much a gym workout that you don't just try once mindfulness and now you're fit forever, my ass. No, this is, you need to put the training wheels on your little bike and have a little ponytails coming. That's okay, however you imagine it. But your emotions and how do you deal with them, you need to practice that. And you need to practice the stepping away from your immediate response of fight and flight, but rather to actually say, okay, is this really an asshole? And if yes, then you have the choice, do I actually want, or do I actually need to respond with violence in order to deal with that real threat? Or is it more likely that you are just having a shit day for reasons whatsoever, because you are hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You haven't looked after yourself. You're dehydrated like a crisp. And now someone says something that he might have either not even meant like that, so you might have completely misunderstood him, or he might have maybe said it in a maybe not so nice way because he is in stress or distress. Well, now you have got a choice to actually realize, well, actually, I have not looked after myself. And yes, he is a bit of a dick at the moment, but if I actually look at his circumstances at the moment, I think I would be a dick too. Well, these kind of little steps, hell, you might say, hey, you know what? Shall we have a coffee together? Shall we, or better, do you want a glass of water and a muffin or something like that? Whatever right now in this situation works for you, okay? However you de-escalate. Give the guy a hug, okay? And you break the whole thing. So hopefully he's not homophobic and he misunderstands you. But break the pattern. Learn to accept maybe the film that is played in my mind right now might actually be just that, a film. Right. And it might be actually a crappy B-rated film. Not X-rated, Y-rated. Really crap, because it is the old stinking thinking, the old survival that served you well when you were 7. But does it really serve you now? I think these are the key things. Yeah, exactly. And that's where we all need to learn. But fuck, that takes time. And it takes
practice.
Exactly. And I want to come back to the point where you said, hey, I had this revelation that really it is time to change. The past does not equal the future. So you changed, and you then said you became a learner, lifelong learner, someone who's studying people. And you did it all yourself. Did you end up fast tracking on that journey? Yes, of course, you can try to find all the people yourself, see who comes by accident across your path, or you could seek them out and maybe go to an NA meeting or AA meeting, or to LifeRing or many other organizations out there that are focusing on addiction first and then help you to get better. Or there are other organizations out there who focus on you getting better, becoming the new you, where then the need of escaping reality becomes less and less and less. Did you meet anyone on your path there?
Man, I was still extremely isolated. And I was still in a way not really able to tell people what I was going through. Or really admit it, but I was starting to admit it to myself. Yeah. And I think a lot of this is genetics, man, the way I think and the way I work. Like, I think that we're all built a certain way, and some people need exterior help to, like, give them a path, build them a blueprint or whatever, and show them the way. For me, I for some reason, I couldn't reach out for help. Like, when I went to community group, I didn't tell them my problems. I just want to study them. So I was just there to learn, right? I didn't admit it. The only one that knew everything was like my wife, but she didn't know what happened to me as a kid. I never told her. Nobody. I learned to look inside of myself. And that was a very hard thing to do. But because I was isolated, that's what I had to do. Right. I think this is what makes me a good coach. Right. Because I can hold myself accountable very well. I'm extremely disciplined, and I'm a self-starter. I'm self-motivated, and I'm very self-aware. One thing I have trouble with is understanding how other people think sometimes, right? Because I'm like, wait, why do you think like that? I did that easily, right? I'm like that controlling type of personality, which I have a cap on. I try every day. I have a routine to help me with that. But the biggest thing I found was I had to take the path I was on, which is in the wrong direction. And I had to understand why? Like, who am I, right? Find my identity. This was hard to do. And you talked about this with me before. You said that you had no idea who you were when you got out of rehab. You didn't know who you were. I struggled with that too. And one thing that I realized is that when I did find somebody I looked up to, I probably because my father wasn't the greatest father figure to me in my life, I almost like became the person I looked up to. I like formed into them. I was easily influenced, right? Which was weird because when I was on drugs, I was the influence. I was the bad influence. I was the leader. And when I like pulled out of that, I like studying people, I started to become people. It's actually got me in a lot of trouble. And so because of that is another reason why I'm like, oh no, I need to figure me out. I need to figure out who I am because that's not me, right? Because it wasn't sustainable. I realized I keep trying to live like they taught me or they showed me, and it wasn't sustainable. And so I isolated. And I know this is probably something a lot of people would say that's not good to do, right? But this is how I work. I found out what my personality is, what my character traits were. Yeah. Extremely driven, independent, and I'm smart, you know? And so I took those things and I accepted them. And I applied them and I put all my focus into them. And I realized I didn't need a community. I was going to build a community, not find one. Right. And so eventually, I mean, I did that. I have one now. Maybe it was from what happened to me as a kid and my disrespect to authority because I couldn't trust. Maybe that's part of it. Yeah. Maybe that changed my genetic code and it's just who I am now. Yeah. But that's how God made me. And I just accepted it. And when I accepted that I don't learn like other people, the growth was explosive. Is explosive because all this happened 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, you know, it wasn't even that long ago.
Wow. Fuck me. And that is the important bit. There's so much good stuff that you've just said there. But I think the one thing that I want to second and focus in on is that we are all different. Yet whilst you are using exactly the same words to describe a very similar response to your trauma as I have experienced, yet we come to a degree to different conclusions. And not to say that one is better or not so good or whatsoever. No, it is what is right for you. And at the moment, you say, actually, I didn't need community. And to a certain degree, I felt the same. I felt, you know, in the start, I had this beautiful 4 weeks in rehab. And it was a beautiful bubble with people who really allowed me to progress rapidly. And then thereafter, there was the deal, the kind of 90 meetings in 90 days and an ongoing program. And it was weird because I had made such progress in my first 4 weeks in rehab. I at times felt, damn, I can teach that class there. That was actually quite weird. Also, more often than not, AA meetings were actually triggering me. When I heard all them going on about the problems, it became clear to me that there are some people who are just stuck in such meetings who will never move forward beyond the victim mode. I got
something to add on to that for sure, man.
Yeah, go for
because
it.
Because I went into an NA meeting once. And I walked in there and I sat down, and this is no disrespect to AA because it works for some people and I want people to get help, whatever works for them. Like I said, but like I went in and I believe he was like 67 years old and he told his story. You know, he's 30 years sober, but he's like, hi, I'm Tom. I'm an addict. And I literally stood up. I was like, no, you're not. And, you know, I wasn't sure why he was saying that. I didn't know that's what they said. And I was like, no, you're not. And he's like, yeah, I am always going to be an addict. I was like, how are you going to always be an addict? If you've been clean for 30 years, I don't understand. I was like, is this what I have to do? I have to identify myself as an addict for the rest of my life. And they're like, well, that's what we do. And I got up and I left. I never came back. And since then, I've been studying identity like crazy. Like, what's my identity? Whatever I believe that I am and whatever I say I am is where my standard is. Right. So if I call myself an addict, there's going to be a way bigger chance that I'm going to slip back in alcoholism and drug addiction.
Nice. Yep.
That's it. I move forward.
These are very accepted ways of thinking. There are these two big schools of thought. One of them is where you live, where you say, no, I'm not an addict. That was my past. I am moving forward. I'm actually an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO of my business. I am the loving man. I'm a loving father. That is who I am. And I imagine that. What would it be like to be that person, and imagine it really strongly and be crystal clear about it? And you become that person because you're now focusing on that. And that's what I mean. That is the beautiful side that really is true recovery, where you actually work towards that new person. Absolute gorgeous. That is exactly what life is all about. Full stop. Yeah. For many of us, however, we need to accept that we're not even anywhere close there. Okay, we still get a vomit on the t-shirt. Okay, so therefore, it is good to also do the stick, not just the carrot, to actually say, no, I'm an alcoholic. And for me, it was one of the most releasing things ever, because addiction is something that you hide. I was hiding that I was hungover, then I hid that I was thinking about alcohol. I hid that I was buying alcohol. I hid that I was drinking alcohol. I hid that I was drunk, and then I passed out. And then we started again. So a lot of hiding going on there. So therefore, for you suddenly to stand up sober in front of a crowd and say, I'm an alcoholic, that broke the dike. That now suddenly everything came out. So therefore, for some people, that is exactly what is necessary. You could make then an argument, do you really want to keep living in that? I think it was the moment for me where my tension, my whole being was stretched this far in the bow that I had to let go the arrow. And it was really fully extended, and it then shot forward. And that is when I said these words, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, that was the first breakthrough for me, because I did no longer have to hide it. I guess deep down, I'm a doctor, as you. I'm not too stupid. And I realized deep down that there is something, not right in the way I behave and not right in the way I feel. And I certainly don't like it, how I feel. But it was what it was. So different school of thoughts. I accept and respect both.
Absolutely.
And I would like to try a distinction. So I wrote a book, My Steps to Sobriety. And that book is essentially describing my journey, but I also use the 12-step program, or the 12 steps, shall I say, of NA, and have reframed them into you being someone who's really good in your business. Let's say you run a restaurant and you have got a mate who runs a restaurant. You're buzzing and you're full all the time. Your mate, there's a few tumble wheels rolling through the front. And he comes to you one day and says, hey, man, what do you do that I don't do? And would you be kind enough to help me? And that is the 12-step approach. That is not necessarily AA. AA is one thing, and or NA or all the other offsprings that focus on different problems in your life. So AA is Alcoholics Anonymous, NA Narcotics Anonymous. There's Overeater Anonymous. There is Gambling Anonymous, etc. So there are different groups that meet and that are supposedly working through such a 12-step program. For me, we just took the 12-step program in rehab and I let it on then, or I continued with it. And it was just a systematic way. So your friend got in touch with you and said, I don't know what to do. So maybe you would go across, or in your case, a gym owner. Something is really, really hard. No one comes to me. They all come to you. So what would you do? Oh, well, okay, I come across, but why don't I have a look? So you would come from the outside, look at the outside, go in, see what is the front staff doing. You would have a look around, first impressions, then maybe have a few sessions with a trainer, with a few trainers, see what they do. Look behind the scenes, how do you manage your advertisement, your money, etc. Then you have figured out, okay, there are certain things that no one ever uses, and that just sits there and wastes space, floor space. There are maybe other advertisements that don't do anything. So you find those things that don't work, chuck them out. Then you find things that maybe would work, maybe a new class that at the moment is trendy, and that would bring you immediately customers that you need to keep afloat. Then you maybe put little changes in here and there everywhere, and maybe a lick of paint, new music, new whatever. And then you might go to your customers and say, hey guys, maybe we have changed our thing. Hey, maybe we were not so great a few months ago. So my apologies for that. We are now on the management has changed. And because of that, we give you a month free of your thing, and come along and we get some protein powder for free, just as a making amends that we were not so great in the past. And then suddenly it's starting to get busy again. Now you put a quality assurance program in, make sure that you're actually doing the right thing, have team meetings, get everyone on the same page. And down the line, both of your gyms are absolutely booming. It's great. And your mate will say, wow, this is cool. Wow. So why don't I create a self-help group for other gym owners? So what we have just done is a 12-step program. So ultimately, logic. So you help the failing business. Now, if you can get a business out of the shits with that, why not use that business here? That is your soul, your brain. So that is where the 12 steps come in. So I look at it from that angle. You have got a different approach. You look at it from the vision point of view, taking the dream, vision, mission. And Absolutely. That is, both of them are very valid. Both of them, some will work for some will work for others. And in a time frame, you might start with a 12-step and then move towards what you are doing. Yeah. So whatever people need, I think, is there. And I guess that's what is so important. Here we are. We have both gone through different schools of sobriety. We are both sober. We are both kicking ass. We are both living lives that we love, but we've only just started on that path. So it just shows, okay, there are different ways how to get clean. There are different ways how to live a life. But so you need to figure out, guys, what works for you. So Eric, I mean, you are so in such a beautiful position today. And you say it was about 3.5, 4 years ago that you actually turned that around. Were you always into fitness before? So were you actually working out whilst you were using?
Yeah, I did. It wasn't in a way where I was very consistent or committed, but I mean, there's certain parts of my life where, like, as a kid, quitting, like trying to get off, trying to quit weed, trying to quit drugs, kind of, you know what I mean? Trying to get better. And I spent like 4 months really hitting the gym hard and eating better. And, I was a wrestler as well. So I was into some sports, but what I've always noticed is when I committed, like those 4 months at a time, dude, I blew up. Like, I have great genetics, and I was surprised. And then I go back to the drugs. So it's always been a part of my life. And actually, I've always been one of the more fit people into fitness people that I have ever known, even around, even sober people. So it's always been a passion. It's also always been a passion. And I've always had a vision of being on stage and helping people. And that's my only vision, actually. And now I get to build that, dude. I get to do what I love, and I love what I do, like you said. And I'm a very visual person. I do sit down, I close my eyes, and I visualize my future every single day so I can get excited. I have a full morning routine that gets me in the right mindset for the day so that I can be more aware of my emotions and thoughts. And I do not think or crave alcohol, drugs. least in my eyes, I'm not an addict, right? And I'm a whole new person, right?
And that's beautiful. That's exactly what you're doing. You're working on your recovery. You're working on that new life every day. Because there's a very good saying, you either work on your recovery or you work on your relapse. Your choice. And you have chosen to go for the recovery all out.
Yeah.
Now, I throw a spanner in the works here. Could it be those 4 months working hard and then hitting the drugs? Could it also have to do with your mental setup? Whilst you have fantastic genes for the bodybuilding, you probably also have fantastic genes for experiencing the highs and lows of life far more than others. So I know you about your podcast. So tell us a bit about that side of your life.
Yeah, man. So are you talking about the highs and lows, like the mood swings and stuff like that?
That's right. The good old bipolar, the good old, because as we all know depression, darkness, low, can't do a thing. But there are some people who are the opposite and they swing very rapidly. So there is a manic phase, and that manic phase gives you energy. You don't need sleep. Fuck it. Who needs sleep? You just go out, all out, all out, all out. Yeah. So, can you distinguish between a manic phase and you being disciplined and going all out because you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I can say is that since I got my life on the right track and completely 100% committed as a disciplined human being, my mood swings they're gone, dude. Like I feel as if I've cured my own bipolar disorder. Now when life gets extremely stressful, like I'm going through some crazy hard right now. Like life does not get easier. I'll tell you that. Like I'm struggling more. I just can't drink now. I can't do drugs. So
isn't it?
I got to face it. Right. And so when life gets crazy, I will hit a low, dude. And it's hard. It's bad. And it's about 3 days where I'm done, like completely doubting myself, you know, and the only thing that gets me out of it is time and sleep at that point.
Good.
And then I do have those highs sometimes. It's not as crazy as it used to be. I'm pretty much staying right on that mid-level where I have energy and I sleep well.
Nice.
And I'm healthy. And I think it all has to do with my nutrition.
Yes.
And the amount of energy I put in my workouts.
Shit, yes.
And I'm releasing that energy, my anger, my stress every day. My stress management's on point. I wake up and I suffer so that I don't have to suffer in my mind all day. I read the Bible every day. I have a whole routine and routines should serve you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They should serve the season you're in, and they should also serve your struggles. So if I'm doubtful, I'm writing 20 I am statements a day. You know what I mean? So I'll switch my routine to match my mood so that in the first thing in the morning, I can switch out of that mood. Nice. And I can be in the right mindset. Before, mood swings are insane. And they're quick, constant and quick. And every time I was either manic or depressed, right at the top of the bottom, it was drugs. Yeah.
So you're a rapid cycler. There are some people have got mood swings that are sort of more slow. They last a few months and then you swing the other way and they last a few weeks, months. And there are the rapid cyclers like you know, that within a day you might experience the highs and lows, or within a week you experience the highs and lows. And that's brutal. But you're quite right. That's quite right. You have learned a superpower. You have trained the superpower of being in control of those mood swings that drive other lives insane. Here you are by actually doing daily steps. That's so beautiful to hear you. And that's where you have become the master of the resilience, the master of the being very clear in your mind what you want to do and actually take action. So you don't just read a self-help book and think, yeah, that would be nice, and now eat a pizza, but rather actually, no, you live the life, you walk the walk, you walk the walk. Yes, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. That's what I want to say. And that is so hard. But when you actually do it, it's amazing. So let's talk about let's talk about the nutrition, because we all need to realize a few things about that. What is your take on nutrition? Why do you think that works?
Because if you can control what you ingest, you can do anything. Have you ever tried a diet? Right. I'll just ask that simple question. How hard is it not to grab that donut? How hard is it not to grab that soda? How hard is it to eat all your meals? It's extremely hard. Why? Because just like alcohol, food is an addiction for a lot of people, just like drugs, but it's legal. And you walk outside and you smell McDonald's like from 10 miles away. Right. And so you could control those cravings. You're going to have complete control over your body and your mind eventually. And that's what I use. I use it as a tool to reach the mind. And first, one thing I notice is I'll get somebody on a diet and they're like, they can't commit, they can't struggle. What happens is they want it. So they try and they push themselves. And then there's something happens and they fall off and they get back on. Another 2 weeks, they fall off. 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And there's patterns in our minds. There's patterns in our lives, and everybody has them. I use my program to find those patterns. And then when that issue is happening, to get on the phone with that client and dig extremely deep and figure out what it is that's causing them, and even making them aware of the pattern. They're like, holy crap. Like, man, I'll show them the graph of their weight loss. It's like perfect. It's perfect. It looks the same every 3 weeks. And they're just mesmerized. And it's just a fact that there's something that's limiting you mentally. And so
absolutely,
I use diet to break through those limitations and get full control over their lives.
Yeah. I personally don't like the word diet. I say nutrition. And
no, it's true.
The nutrition is a way of living. And this is not just a short 3 week something. No, it's a different way of life. And that is, I think I can live far easier with that. What I would like you guys out there to know is that there is about 1.5 kilograms of nerve tissue up there, give or take, 1,500 grams. There's as much nerve tissue sitting in your abdomen as there is sitting in your head. Okay. No. So there is, when you have got a gut feeling, you actually are pretty spot on there, because there's another brain sitting down there. Now that brain is living in symbiosis, so living together in harmony with the bacteria in there. So there are actually 3 to 6 pounds of bacteria sitting, typically most of them inside your gut, on your skin, in your nose, everywhere. So there is actually far more cells. You right now, Eric, there are far more cells that didn't come from mommy and daddy than came from mommy and daddy. Bit spooky, but it is actually true. So these bugs, they produce chemicals. They produce neurotransmitters. They produce the serotonin that makes you feel good. If they are the right guys, if you help these guys to live. Now, if the wrong guys come down there and they're wrecking the house and wrecking the party because they thrive on sugar, they thrive on all kind of shit that is in not so healthy nutrition, then that's not very clever. So you invite the hooligans into your gut, basically, by eating shit. If you change your diet, if you actually now nourish the good guys, maybe introduce some good guys with some yogurt, with some kind of lactobacillus bacteria, etc. They come in capsule form if you don't like dairy, etc. That's fine. So eat them regular and then feed them. And what they need is the salad. They need cellulose. They need stuff that you can't break down, that actually your body doesn't need, but the bugs need it. So treat the bugs nice. So that's where the nutrition comes in. When we say eat your colors, we bloody well mean it. When we say eat a lot of greens, we bloody well mean it. And when you actually do that, suddenly things change. And that's amazing.
Yeah. Quickly.
Isn't it? Exactly.
Oh, it's amazing.
And the other thing to say is one more thing, just talk doctor wise, when you eat a muffin, what happens? Lots of white stuff, white flour in there, and lots of sugar in there, stuff that very easily is broken down. So what you get is a sugar spike like that. Now your body doesn't like spikes. Okay. So out comes the insulin and you go from, oh, I feel good. 30 minutes later, crash down.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel so good because my blood sugar is now low because you're shooting the other way. So that's this kind of rapid yo-yo when you eat shit. And that's why you feel so good for a very short period of time with a cheesecake. And then thereafter you pay the price. And
it's the instant gratification. And when you seek instant gratification in your diet, you're going to seek it in your lifestyle.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice. What I mean? You talked about nutrition over diet, and I believe in that as well. I just use diet because it's just a word, right? In my head. I don't really care. It's just a word.
Fair call.
But we're looking at sustainability in my program. We're looking at a lifestyle. We're looking at something that's going to last you forever, that is actually doable, first of all, and that you can hit 100% on. Exactly. Because I want you to feel good about yourself too. Like I accomplished something, right? We're looking at the long view. We're looking at long view gratification, not how we can feel in 1 month, 2 weeks. Obviously I'll get you a result quicker than that. But like when you practice that on a nutrition level, it changes the wiring of your brain to think like that in your finances, in your relationships, your marriage, your everything. And that's why I've built a successful business, coaching business. That's why I'm good at what I do. That's why I'm finally a good husband, right? I'm willing to endure like the arguments and be humble with my wife, because I know in the long run, in the short run, I could win that fight and feel good, but it's not going to help me in the long run. Exactly. I want a sustainable marriage, so I control my emotions. And I believe that I found that in controlling what I ingest. It's neuroplasticity at its best, right?
Absolutely. And that's quite good. Whilst I absolutely adore your physical well-being, fantastic. I mean, all men are in awe of that. The important bit to realize is that nutrition plays such a key role there, and we keep forgetting that. I have forgotten the influencer, the sports person who did it, but he did a 10,000 calorie day. Where he ate 10,000 calories, and then is that Michael Phelps? Was that? No. That's a different story. Even no. It was that was another mad guy who basically then said, "Okay, now I have eaten 10,000. That was actually hard, but it's doable." And now he was trying in 24 hours to lose 10,000, and that was impossible. And he literally trained around the clock as hard as he possibly could. That was a very little thing. And he reached about 7,000 calories that he could drop. That's insane. Isn't it? So a lot of calories to burn, man. Shit, yeah. And he was wiped after 8 hours. And he was at 3,000 calories or 4,000 or something like that. And he thought, I'm wiped. I could stop right now. So it just shows that combine both, and you have got some very, very powerful allies. But for both, you need discipline. For both, you need insight, why you're doing it. You need to understand what drives you away from your goals. And that's what your teaching program is all about. That's where you come in, Eric, with regards to the discipline. Now, discipline in some people is a swear word. You yourself had trouble with discipline towards your father figure, towards your authority, etc. So if you tell me discipline, I immediately want to tell you, fuck you. That's my immediate response. Yeah. So, absolutely. So you need to rephrase it. How do you rephrase it to someone who is a free thinking man, who is spontaneous? How do you deal with that? I could rephrase it as living in abundance, in my opinion, because I believe I'm a believer in God, right? Christian. I believe that. I mean, I know that your listeners may not believe this stuff, and that's fine. I'll just kind of throw my beliefs in here. Right? I don't like talking about religion, but I do believe that Jesus Christ was the most disciplined man that ever walked the earth, in my opinion. Right. And I believe that discipline is obedience to your creator, to your God. And I believe that when you're disciplined and you're taking care of the things you can control, you're controlling the things you can control, and you're not,
chasing instant gratification, and you're not trying to just chase pleasure all the time. Instead, you're seeking purpose in life.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? Then God or your creator is going to lay that purpose out for you. He's going to point you in the correct direction. He's going to use the gift that you were created with to make something good out of this world. And so I see it as that vision we were talking about earlier. I'm obedient to the vision, right? I know what it's going to take to be that man, the man that can love my wife the best and be the best father. I know what it's going to take. And so I look at it in the long view of being rewarded and from being obedient instead, because I get that when people look at my life and they're like, oh, you're boring. Like I eat 7 times a day, 7 meals a day. And I hit the Stairmaster every morning at 5 a.m. and I sweat with a hoodie on as hard as I can. And then I go work out for 3 hours at the end of the day. Like I do a lot, right? That's me. That's my life. Well, one thing that I get out of that, even though it's hard sometimes, I may not want to do it, is while I'm in it, sweating and feeling the pain, I feel so good. I feel good. It's self-love. Discipline is the highest level of self-love. I mean, you can look at it like that. That's another way to rephrase it for sure.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And therefore it is hard. And I love what you say. It is absolutely hard for you too. And I think for everyone out there who is trying to be disciplined. And having said that, you have got choices to make. You get to make choices. It's a privilege for you. You get to make the choice that you say, actually, no, today I feel like crap. I need to curl up in a ball and feel like crap because depression has hit me. I've had so much shit on my plate today. Sorry, I will not work out. And that's absolutely cool. But there will be other days where you say, yes, I had shit today, but you know what? I treat myself now. I treat myself to go onto the treadmill or to go for a walk, even if you're not yet out there in the gym or out there in physical exercise. Doesn't mean to say that you have to sit on the couch. You can make a point of actually going around the block. No, you didn't want to, you didn't need to, but what don't you do? And just do it. For those people who are really starting at literally zero, and suddenly you feel, okay, this was actually quite, I might be out of puff even, but that's okay. That's okay. But you did it. You did it. Now celebrate that you did it. It feels good. Isn't it? Yeah. Absolutely. And then tomorrow you might not feel like it, but the next day you try again and you say, wow, that's a bit easier now. And suddenly you think, hey, actually, that's not so bad after all. And you did it 20, 30, 44, or 77 times, whatever the current figure is that people say you have to do for it to become a habit. You do it repeatedly and suddenly you don't even think about it anymore. And when you don't do it, your body says, oi, hey, where's my walk? Come on. I want to go for a walk. And that's cool.
And absolutely. And going back into the identity thing, make it who you are, not what you do.
Perfect.
And,
love it.
And you won't miss a step.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to work out. Or sorry, I shouldn't work. It's not, I should work out. I should eat my meals today. It's, I have to.
Yeah.
I've raised my standards.
Yeah.
And I don't miss a step. I don't give myself a way out. No plan B.
Yeah.
No way out.
Yeah. But also experience and learn. For example, probably 5 days now. This was a bit of a chaotic week and I thought I'd do some intermittent fasting. And then by 10 o'clock in the morning, I was, now give me a muffin. So I ate actually not very well this week and I paid a price. There were certain emotions there. There were certain fluctuations of emotions there. There was a certain degree of fatigue there that normally I don't have. And it was a direct lesson to learn. So from now and then you have to take a step back so that you can take 2 steps forward. So this week has taught me again what happens when you don't look after yourself. And these are powerful insights. So therefore, yes, I will make sure that I actually get my shit together with my food and my water intake and all these beautiful things. And again, I did actually do very little exercise this week. And then I finally realized, oh God, I didn't do much exercise. So I went for a K swim and felt good. And then I realized, because I haven't done some exercise, my muscles were saying, oi, what the hell are you doing? And everything hurt. And that's okay. It just shows I let myself slip. So instead of working on my recovery, I worked on my relapse. And I thought, okay, fair call. Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. That's okay. I'm not beating myself up. I don't have any scars now from whipping myself. Stupid. You failure. No.
Yeah.
I'm not a failure.
Exactly.
I'm just, I made some decisions, some choices that didn't suit me so well. And that's cool. And now I learn from it. I have figured out what doesn't work. Now let's figure out what works.
Yeah. There's a place for self-criticism. There is, but not every time. You know, like I know a lot of people in America, at least, it's like they call themselves a bitch. They're like, oh, I'm being a bitch right now. You know, like I got to get up. But they use that in a term of like, I know I can get up. And so I'm using this to like motivate myself. But when you fail and you're down on yourself and you're talking bad to yourself, it's going to keep you low. Yeah. Now you're pitying yourself. Now you're pushing yourself down. But if you come to a point where like, you know, you can do better, and you're almost jokingly telling yourself like, oh, you're being a bitch to get up. Like those things, like exactly. that definitely helps. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But the conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you'll ever have. And I mean, that's been a huge thing for me, is because of my trauma, because of the emotional abuse as a kid, my self-doubt has been the number one thing that has held me back.
You're so right. You're so bloody right.
Yeah.
And that's
those voices.
So that's the cover. It's too shiny. Sorry, do it this way.
Looks like is that Bambi?
That's not Bambi. That is. Well, Bambi gets shot in our areas, and it becomes a really nice with salt and pepper and a bit of sesame oil. No, that's Esme, the mindful mouse, which is my first children's book, because we want to, I'm working together with another author, Belinda Manna, and we want to address exactly that issue, those kind of core beliefs that are laid down at a very early stage. How would it be if we actually build strong human beings and not repair broken adults, as we are doing right now here? So therefore, I've started to work towards that line as well. But sometimes we are still those little children that are believing some really stupid crap. So we need to deal with those core beliefs, and we need to work with that. And that is so, if we can achieve that, then suddenly you get insights where you say, now I understand why I self-sabotage all the time. Now I understand why I've never been able to lose weight. Now I understand what's going on. So therefore, for you, or for anyone out there, not you, Eric, but you, the viewer out there, to just try another diet, well, that will work. You will drop it.
Problem.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're not addressing the problem. You're just, trying a different response. And guess what? In 3 months, you're back to where you were, or maybe even a little bit worse. So that's the fate of most diets. So therefore, no. How would it be if you address that you are not a failure, that you are not hopeless and helpless, that you're not a basket case, that you're not all those kind of crappy voices that you keep telling yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Insecure. Yeah, exactly.
How about
that's what I help with my clients a lot. That stuff right there.
Exactly.
And, I get to know them very well by their struggles. It's like, they're excited in the beginning, build them out the plan. They want to lose 50 pounds. I've had clients lose 50 pounds in 3 months, and they're like, oh, I want to be like that, and then they jump on, and it's like, they're loving it. And then all of a sudden disappear. And it's like they've relapsed. Right. And,
absolutely.
I don't work with like just addicts, or I don't have I work with everybody, but I mostly work with entrepreneurs because they're just dedicated type of people, but I work with everyone. And it's just like, it's like, where'd you go? And it's hard for people to admit, like they usually won't respond, and like when you were talking about AA and how like they're saying like, hey, I'm an alcoholic. You're very right about that. And I didn't even see it like that until you said it. But that admitting and telling somebody and being vulnerable about what's going on when it's happening is so powerful. It's a game changer. Like just that step, that first step, admitting is everything. You know, it's so hard for us to do.
Yeah. But don't beat yourself up about it. Admit it and then say, okay, what went wrong? In my first year, I had a night where I drank, and to a degree that I could not hide it. Okay. So there I was waking up from a hangover. My wife walked into the bedroom, and I've expected a third world war to happen. And she just lay down next to me, and we gave each other a hug. And she said, okay, what happened? And what went wrong? Where could we do better in the future? And that was the most beautiful thing. There was no fight, there was no aggression, there was no nothing. She was just saying, yeah, cool, you had a relapse. So now what can we learn from it? Where did it all start? And that was so powerful. I was humbled. I'm now sort of feeling quite emotions walling up here or coming up in me. I'm not sure if I even cried on that day. I certainly was absolutely gobsmacked that she said that and how she responded. But that was so beautiful. So if we can just give ourselves that hug,
grace.
That's right, the grace, the humility of saying, hey, look, man, this is okay. This is normal. You're a human being. That's right. So, man, I mean, this is so powerful and that's so beautiful. But again, what you are doing is you're holding people accountable. You're actually teaching them integrity and you're guiding them along a path. And that's so important because it is very, very hard to stay on a path consistently every day without help. It's so easy. Life overtakes us and pushes us off that path. And suddenly you're back in fight and flight, responding to whatever is happening around you. It's very hard. You are the wingman. You are the guy who is actually helping others along. You're the friend that you really need on such a journey.
Yeah, that's it, man. I believe that everybody's purpose in the smallest way, at the minimum, is to become who they needed to be in their darkest times.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's how you become a good father. That's how you become a good wife, husband, daughter, anything. I mean, that right there it's the golden rule in another sentence. But if you think like that, then you're doing really well, in my opinion. Because if you can think like that, then you're very self-aware of who you are, what you're doing, your behaviors, and now you can be aware of how they're feeling about your behavior to them. And I love being a coach, dude. It's my absolute passion. I love clients that listen. Not all of them do, but I love helping people. I'm very talented at it. And it's crazy because there was a point in my life where I hated humans, all of them. And it's just like, life's just turned to 180 and it's good,
The opposite to addiction is connection.
Yeah.
You are just the living example of that, isn't it?
Right.
So
absolutely.
How long did it take you to get back with your wife? You had actually, I want to ask that.
Yeah. So it took, I'm a fast mover, dude. Like when I put my head in something, I get what I want as quick as possible if I'm going to get it. I got clean. I started going to church, hanging out with the community group guys. And within 4 months, I called her and I basically told her, like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I've been doing. I'm healing. What do you say? And she was interested, and so we started like dating again. And at that moment, I was actually living in a friend's basement because I needed an accountability partner. I wasn't allowed to have alcohol in his house.
Yeah.
And so like I was living in this just piece of crap, basement and just roughing it, hoping to get my wife back, just working on myself, reading the Bible, working out every day, eating as much food as I can to gain weight again. And I called her and she was very impressed. And so about 4 months. And then we I moved to California where she moved to. So I lived in Nevada. And within 2 or 3 months after that, so 7 months from the time I pulled that gun out of my mouth, I was living with her again and my son, and 100% fully in their lives and providing for them again.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it just shows the power of transformation and the power of living a new life. Is there equally a growth noticeable in her? Does she say, wow, does she take a leaf out of your book? And has she changed in response to your behavior?
Yeah. My wife has also been through a lot of traumatic stuff in her life as well. And so we share that. We have that in common. We're both the youngest in our families. Yeah. We both have dealt with a lot of emotional abuse and, been pushed out of our families. And so we're each other's support systems for sure. And then we both, because of our trauma, will, spent years just flipping out on each other for no reason and had a lot of crazy fights, right? But we're so in love that it's crazy. And we hold each other, we support each other. When one of us is down, the other one is up. When the other one's down, the other one's up, and we're holding on to each other. And, I'm very proud of her because, her whole thing is like extreme depression and she is getting help. And just for that right there, it's amazing because Beautiful. It's hard to get help for something that you may not think could be fixed. Right. So she is my rock, and she's, I don't know, she's just, again, the only thing that I've ever felt love from. And she gave me the blueprint and the foundation to give love to others. So I'm proud of her, very proud of her.
And she gave you permission to be you and to develop into that new you. And she was standing beside you on that journey. That's so beautiful when that happens in a relationship, when that happens in a family. Often enough, there is a lot of enabling behavior going on, and there is sort of a codependency going on in some relationships. And when then someone gets clean and gets themselves out of shit, then suddenly the whole relationship is in trouble. Because you're no longer enabling the behavior, and you even might swing the other way, where you say, no, actually, we will not have any drink here in the house whatsoever. And that might end up in friction as well. So I just want to say that to you guys out there, if you are starting out, recovery, the only thing that changes in recovery is everything. Okay. So it is for most of us, our lives are turning virtually in all aspects of life to the better. But sometimes you hit some speed bumps, and just be aware of that. Recovery, whilst we two are speaking very gloriously about it, because that's where we are at this stage. Don't think for a moment that there was not pain and trauma as part of our recovery. That is just as much as given. Making amends can sometimes be, brutal. Having to face what you have done in the past and now owning it and dealing with it and then parking it where it belongs in the past. It's still a traumatic process. Okay. So guys, realize that.
Yeah. I would say the thing that fast-tracked my results the most is accountability. And like I said, I didn't really have a coach or a community to do that with. I was the coach. I told my story. I just told my story, and I've been telling it ever since. And it's never too early, never too late to tell your story. It can be the only thing that saves you.
Correct.
Because when you admit something in public, your brain will find a way to hold on and practice what you preach, in my opinion. And I think that if you're already in sobriety and taking those steps towards sobriety, go tell your story.
Yeah.
And be okay with telling some of the hard stuff and just work your way into the harder and harder stuff. And eventually you can get into that. But the things that I've done in my life and seen and been around and I've felt so much shame and guilt in my life. It's put guns in my mouth. Right. And so I'm here to tell you that it does get easier, because, and only if you're willing to tell that story. And it's actually saving people's lives today. Like, my story has saved a lot of lives, and fuck, if I can go through all that pain and save one person, it was worth it. That's it. I've lived my purpose.
Amen. That's what I so strongly believe in. And that is that you will come to that point. Yeah. Virtually guaranteed. For some of us, it takes longer, because our path to redemption and our path of recovery, depending upon the amount of trauma you've experienced, might actually be quite tumultuous, and it comes in layers like an onion. You peel one layer back and you think, shit, there's a lot of pus there. We better deal with that. It might take you a little bit to deal with that shit. And then you think, hey, cool, that's all sorted. Next layer comes off and you think, hey, great. Had not thought about that one for a while. Okay, we better get going again. And so it is. So, sometimes it just takes some time. So this is not a pissing contest. This is not a race. How quickly you can come to the point where you truly can be humble and live a life full of integrity and transparency. I think that is the vision. It should be for you. And because that is where most of us are who you listen to. We are at that point in our lives. And come along on the journey. And I don't know how quickly you come to that point. It might be a few months, it might be a few years, but you will get there. So, but you put the work in, and you get yourself maybe someone who has been there before, a wingman, maybe Eric Rogers, if the guy sort of fitted if you gelled with what he was saying. And he was saying a lot of really cool shit. So I believe that Eric has something there.
Thank you.
So no, this is, guys, there is hope. The past does not equal the future. End of the story. You have
today does.
Exactly. Right now matters. And right now you have choices. You have chosen to listen to that podcast. You have chosen to watch that YouTube video to the end. Now, look how committed you are already. What discipline. The typical attention span of fucking 8 seconds. No, you're here. So man, you're good. You're good. Girl, you have done it already. So, what will be the next step? Maybe, just maybe, check out Eric and check his things out. Eric, tell us, where can they find you?
Instagram is the best place to find me. At the real _Eric Rogers. And I'm sure you'll drop a link below or whatever. I don't know. And I also have a website. It's rogersfitnessacademy.com. And if you guys are interested in seeing like what I do for my program and my clients and what they got to say about it, it's awesome. I have a few clients out in the UK. Where are you located, brother?
I'm New Zealand. Sort of
New Zealand,
as far away of all the madness as I possibly could find. So New Zealand is quite good, is quite safe. So, hey, and by the way, once that whole Omicron or whatever the newest virus is, shit is finished, I want you to be over here. Come on, guy. You need a break. My wife
talks about New Zealand all the time.
There you go,
it's like
girl.
Her dream.
That's right. Come on. I see your eyes going across there. Come on, you guys, you're invited. There's a fantastic time waiting for you out here. So.
Awesome, man.
No, absolutely.
I'm in.
Exactly. So Eric Rogers, Fitness Academy. So guys, look down there into the description of the podcast or of the YouTube video. All the links are there. And whilst you're down there, press the like and the subscribe button, click. And hey, if you liked what we're doing here, then just tell your mates, just tell your friends and sort of say, hey, that was some good shit I've listened to. Why don't you check it out? Because the more viewers we get, the more algorithms get triggered from YouTube. And therefore, such beautiful interviews like today's can be offered to other people who need to hear that the past does not equal the future, who need to hear that there is hope. They might not believe it. And that's exactly those people that I want to reach, that Eric wants to reach. We both have been in the darkness. We are in the light now, but we remember the darkness very well. So, and we believe that there are ways out, and here we are. So pick up that phone, go to your GP, go to your family physician, and just, if you don't want to talk to strangers like us, that's cool. Go to someone who knows you, your doctor, and actually say, hey, look, I'm in trouble. And you will be amazed how many resources there are that might not cost you much or might cost you absolutely nothing. And that would be a good start. So it doesn't matter what you do, but do take action. Do take action and start that journey of recovery, the journey of healing, the journey of loving yourself, learning to love yourself. And I'm sure Eric could be a good wingman there on your side. So Eric, thank you so much for your time, man. You are a great dude. You're a great role model out there. I'm honored to have you on my show. And so, yeah, I can't wait to see what the new Eric Rogers will do in, 6 months' time, a year's time. We all are growing. So therefore, that's a given. So who knows? Eric Rogers for presidency. Yes. No, he says, no, fuck. No. There's so many weird people there. No.
Yeah. It's too normal of a job for me.
Oh, well responded.
Yeah.
Eric, you're a great man. Hey, Eric, thank you so much for coming onto my show. And you guys out there, look after yourself, live with passion, and go out there. Do right now, when you stop that interview, after you press the subscribe button, you make a decision, make a choice. Maybe have a glass of water, rehydrate, or get up and just walk some stairs, up and down, and maybe up and down again. Hey, you've done some exercise. Hey, put one salad leaf, one spinach leaf onto your sandwich. Wow, that's a breakthrough. That's more than you've done before. So, you can make little choices. But the compound interest that you reap the rewards down the line, it's just gives you goosebumps, actually. Just thinking about your journey that you guys will have. And it's just, live with passion. Look after yourself, guys. Bye.